Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Simply Together show. And a happy International Women's Day to all those fabulous women out there. We are going to be talking today. We are the guests today. The three of us here, we are the guests, and we're going to be talking about Break the Bias. That is the campaign theme for International Women's Day 2022. So we're talking about Break the Bias. So come and join us. Introduce yourself, ladies.
It's me in the building. Put on the spot there a little bit. Over to you, Shelley.
So the dog and the husband and the everything else is going on all at the same time. Yes, hello, I'm Shelley. So we were just doing introductions, like what we think about International Women's Day, what we think.
Do you want to do the little bit of blurb that we've got to share with people?
I'll put this in the comments. This is something that is off of the International Women's Day website. And it kind of explains what the Break the Bias is meaning for them. So in our general lives, where have we seen, where have we experienced, where have we thought we could have done different, about biases of being women in life. So it's in your workplace, whether it be in your home. Do you call it out? Do you not call it out? What do you believe is a bias for you? Because it could then be for something completely different to someone else. So that's the actual the blurb itself. So have any of you had any experiences of like itself actually in the workplace or at school, or where do you think it's kind of come from in your lives? When did you actually realise that there was such a thing? It's gone quiet. What do you girls think?
So I think one of the questions then is the bias there? Is it still there? Because some people, I don't know. I was just about to say, some people most probably don't think the bias is there, but I don't know whether they do think that. Do women think that, or do men think that? I don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah, I that's a good point, because I think a lot of women will disagree, and a lot of men might think that doesn't exist, or because it doesn't exist in the same way as before, that it's okay now. Well, what more do you want? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to just share a little something. Do you want to go first, Shelley?
No. It was the other thing going along with that is, has something become the norm that you don't actually realise yourself that, you just put it down to whatever, and not actually being like an actual problem as such.
Yeah. Yesterday, a couple of us, Shelley included, we went to one of the co-authors from Life Out of Lockdown. Got a book? Anyone got a book? No. Life Out of Lockdown.
Giving them one away.
To their graduation. So, congratulations to Sherelle for her graduation yesterday. But sitting in that audience, I was looking at the academic heads. So anyone who's been to a graduation knows that the academic heads come in, and then they will then go and sit up on the stage, and then one or two of them will then be doing the presentation. Right. I'm looking at that stage, and I'm counting how many women are on that stage. So how many women were academic heads? There were four, but 30 men. And I actually just had to count the 30 just now by looking at the video, because yesterday all I kept seeing was four women. And I don't think any of them were even women of colour. Black women, Asian women, whatever wording you want to use. But there was only four. So is that a bias? Is that we know that education, especially university education, is age old and very, very dominated by men. Is it breaking? Is that changing? I don't know. What do you think?
And you know the whole thing, because you know when they try to like fill a quota, so like, all right, we've got to have so many like percent of like coloured people or something. Then I hate that as well, because then it's like, well, you're just doing that for a reason. It's rather you just get the person that's right, and it doesn't, you know, have to be about anything. If they're female, if they're black, if they're whatever.
Yeah, I don't think they were filling a quota yesterday because there weren't any at all. So,
no, but if it was made to be more even, then it's a case of just filling a quota. Then I still don't think that's right, because it's not putting the right people in there. It's just filling the, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Great with words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I'm just wondering whether, you know, whether there is that whole bias going on within higher education, that actually women don't sit on that academic seat, those heads of years. I don't know.
Yeah, with I was thinking about this before, and the reason why I said schools was those that would have been that kind of age, and my kind of age, I suppose, as I was looking at it, coming into my 50s, that when I was at high school, we still had the thing of you had your options. So we were just learning computers at that stage. So anyone could go in and learn the computers as part of your options. Everyone did maths, English, and everything else. But when it came to two particular areas, it was still the girls did the typing and the home economics, and the boys did the word work and the metal work.
Yeah.
We never ever really pushed that. I don't know whether it was ever a stage where we could have decided to go the other way, because as it was, the high school that I was in, one of the cookery teachers knew my family. So at any time that she was putting the bits and pieces together to what recipes we were doing, she would know. I would just come in with my own bit of different ingredients, because I learnt to cook from how my mum cooked, and I wasn't going to learn a basic recipe from school. So for me, I was more of a tomboy. I would have quite happily have gone into the woodwork and metalwork, because I used to sit around with my dad and my brother doing all these bits and pieces. So I suppose as you've got that, and that slowly changed, we've got to wait for all of that to then go all the way through the system, and wait till you get to a university kind of status and over, and what jobs are people going into. But then you've also then got like the childcare thing, and that's still not as bad as it was, but it was always, okay, you've had children, that's now the end of your career. It wasn't such a thing of having someone to look after your child, or even as what happens now quite often, is the men then take a lesser role because the women's then got the bigger job.
And because childcare is so expensive, as we are one of the most expensive countries for childcare, it's then that question, isn't it? Do you even go back to work? Because actually, can you afford to go back to work? Because actually the majority of it is going to be taken up in your wages. So what's the point?
Say that they cover the cost of the childcare, so it's like so pointless. You have to be away from your child to try and do what you're trying to do, and you can't even afford it. So making ends meet. pointless.
Yeah. So Nikkei, hi Nikkei, hi Samara, hello Dee. Nikkei's put I think it's all through. Bearing in mind these biases are not just in institutions, but also in the homes, how women are raised. Yes, they are. But is it changing? So Nikkei, is it changing? Is it changing in the home? Is it changing in institutions? Is it changing in the workplace? What do you think?
I've worked in plenty of call centres, which is not exclusively women, but predominantly women. And you do get to see certain roles they kind of develop, and they kind of how things kind of work. But I have then also seen change, and it doesn't matter if you're taking leave or what's kind of going on. And that's just in like call centres, offices. That side of things has definitely changed. I've got a few friends that are in sales positions and things, and they could be the only woman in the meeting, but they're not spoken to as different anymore as it used to be. It was almost like, oh, you're the lady, so you can take the minutes in the meeting kind of thing. That kind of that just a generalized thing. But because it was just a little generalized thing and meant nothing of it, it was then a deep thing because it kept going on and on and on. But and I've got plenty of guys that are then working in the caring field. So where I work at Fun, we have plenty of guys come forward. I mean, it's not as equal as it should be, but we do have guys, and they can do sort of like equal jobs and things. So yeah.
I don't know. I mean, my background is the care sector, having been in social care for like 28 years. And what I've seen is on, firsthand, as in care workers, as they're going up, seniors, etc., the majority are women. There are men in the care sector, definitely, and that has increased over the years. But quite often, in the big organisations that I've worked in, the further you go up, right at the top is then a man. So it might be women all the way up, but right at the top is a man. The last one I was working in, not so much, because that's a smaller organisation, but I think the bigger ones are still like that. But I don't know whether that is because, I don't know, the women don't want to go that far, or the men have got those qualifications because they've been able to do that. I'm not quite sure. But I mean, the care field itself, there's definitely more men coming into that. So that bias of that can only be a female's job is now gone, I would say, because there's plenty of men within that field. But I think when you're going further up, the men are there at the top.
I think that's twice those, because the women are like, more nurturing, caring, like, the motherly instincts and that. So that's why there's more women generally in them jobs in general. I don't know, just putting it out there as well, because we are nurturers.
Yeah, I think the roles, as Nico was saying earlier about having things change at home, those kind of roles of how you're being brought up. So whether you're brought up with just your mum, whether you're brought up with just your dad, does that then make a change to how you feel as you grow up and how you are in life in general or in your workplace? Does that change how you are like a man towards a woman or anything else?
Yeah, definitely. In my family.
Yeah, go on.
I say my family, because I agree. Like, I was brought up with the, like, well, you're a woman, so you've got to do this, or, you know, you're a girl, you've got to do this and that. But like, what about my brothers? And like, they would have to do completely different things to me, or just not have to do those are the things I had to do. So I've brought up in that sense of, well, because you're a girl, you've got to do this. Not that they expected me to stay in the kitchen and be like, you know, a housewife back in the 1950s, but still literally, like, you're expected to do these things almost. Well, you are expected to do them. And so that's definitely not helping. And if that changes, then obviously then it will change everyone's mind, because if you're brainwashed into that, what else are you supposed to know?
One of the other things that I was thinking of, like been thinking of, like with today and everything that's then kind of going on, would you, if you was to see something and that person just takes it as being, oh, it's just one of those things, how would, hi Nico, how would you feel if someone was to step in for you and say that's not right because of, or would you be able to say that's not right because of? Because if you're thinking about breaking the bias, is it down to yourself? Is it down to others around you to actually bring that up as an actual comment? How would you still feel, even though we say that, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that? If I'm employing someone, I want it to be the best person for the job and all that kind of thing. But when it comes down to it, on general day-to-day life, would you call out someone? Would you help someone? How would you still feel as a woman by another woman then saying, oh, it could be a man even, then saying, I don't think that's right because of whatever?
Well, if you know me, then you know that I'm gonna call them out for myself and for somebody else. But that's just because I'm a bit feisty, and I don't like to see those things, you know. So yeah. So I'm gonna call it out, but I'm fully aware that some people wouldn't, and you might need to talk to them before you call it out for them, because you might be putting them into a situation that they actually don't want to be in. I think I don't know. I think the younger generation now, I'm hoping, are calling it all out. You know, I'm hoping when they see it, they are saying something. Because maybe there aren't as many of us of my age who are doing that, because they're so ingrained with what they think the bias is, and that's okay and that's fine. But I'm hoping younger people are. Hello, Nico.
Hey, hi everybody.
Hey, Nico.
Hi, interesting subject. I think it depends on the culture of the organization as well. Some companies are quite open to it. You know, like where I work recently, they had a staff survey, and obviously it's anonymous up to a degree, because it's one of these ones that is actually separated by by department. So, and they used, I personally am not convinced that it was 100% anonymous myself personally, but that did not stop me, like you said, from pointing out the obvious about the fact that there's, the favoritism in my workplace, to be honest, most of it is more individualistic, and it's not 100% to do with race or females or stuff like that, but there is a lot of favoritism that goes on there. And so that is what was called out by more than one person, and it was brought. And, you know, circumstances like that do make it easier. But when it's blatantly obvious in terms of you just seeing it and then going up to somebody and saying, well, actually, I don't think that is correct, it can be quite difficult. I think what I've noticed with a lot of youngsters is they may not necessarily call it out. They'll call it out with their feet and move along to somewhere else. So it's, it's a tough one.
Look, these days, don't you think, like, because of this whole, like, you know, the snowflakes and that, what people say, you know, how they describe people that, like, going on with everything. So I think there's more chance of things, but then it might go the other way because it's getting a bit too stupid. Like, do you know what I mean? A bit too much like into it all and bringing up everything, and it's like we can't, you know, fix everything at once, and it's not as simple as that to just, you know, use toys at the pram and expect the world to change.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. The most one that I noticed, not even a UK one actually, this is an American one where they want to appoint that. I don't know if you've discussed this already, but this is actually an American one where Biden wants to appoint, I don't know if she's been sworn in yet, this female judge to the, you know, I don't know how their politics work, but basically it's a very high office in the Supreme whatever, and she has done everything. Whatever letter that says you need to be qualified to do that. Bearing in mind now, some of the statistics that are coming out suggest that half the men there don't even have a law degree. So, I mean, to me, that's the deal breaker. There's nothing else to be said. They do not have a law degree. How can they be appointed to those offices without a law degree? These are people who sit on the councils who make the laws that say A, B, and C. And yet you've got this woman, she's done everything. She's got a law degree. She served as a judge for 9 years. She's did an internship. She was the editor of the Harvard Law Review. And people are still complaining for very many reasons. They're complaining because it's a woman. They're complaining because she's black. You list it, they're complaining. And people are coming out on social media and saying, but why are you complaining? She has got the this is the qualifications that you said you wanted, and this woman has got it. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Now, I mean, obviously that's at the other extreme. I mean, when I was talking about my workplace, I'm talking about a call center. But even when I was working in the civil service, which was quite exemplary, because obviously they were the ones, when I say exemplary, I use that word very lightly. I use it very lightly in the sense that when it suited them, they were, and when it didn't suit, they were not. So
which is the same as what you're saying, really, that, you know, what's happening over in the US. So they're going to go around the houses to try and not swear her in, because actually what they do want is the men who don't have those qualifications, but they're already in that system, aren't they? So they've obviously got into that system without the qualifications anyway, and they're just going to try and carry on like that.
Yeah, it's a status quo. It's a status quo, isn't it? They do tend to like it.
So who calls it out then? So over there, people are sending in all of their, you know, their concerns as to why, you know, the fact that it's a done deal. Actually, she should be in place. So the public are saying what they would like, but who's inside?
I think it's the law of the land. Bearing in mind, I mean, obviously, you know, obviously we're talking really good stuff here, and I don't want to sort of muddy the waters with what a certain orange-looking president did, but basically it is being called. It's being called out by different people across the board. You know, you can't put and say, oh well, the black people are up in arms or the white. It's not like that. It's just being called out, and I do think that she will be sworn in. But I'm thinking in 2022, why are we still having this conversation at that level? Because then I'm thinking, if it's happening at that level, at the highest level in the land, then what chance do the little people, oh God, what, you know what I mean? To the smaller companies have, because you just think, oh well, if they're doing it, then we could do it, and then next thing you know, Sorry.
Or you cutting out me?
Yeah, sorry, I've got in the other room.
No, I think it was Justa that was cutting out.
It's just, yeah.
What was you going to say, Justa?
Oh yeah, she's cut out.
I think she's cutting out. But I mean, you're right though. So where does this? If it's happening all the way up there, what changes need? What changes do we need at the bottom?
I think it's it is like you said, to keep marching, to call out where you can, and one of the things I said when you were talking at the beginning before I came on is that, bearing in mind, the bias is not, to be fair, it's not just in the institutions, it's also in the homes.
Yeah.
and obviously it's encouraging women that I personally believe that everybody can do everything within reason. Obviously, let's be honest, men are never going to give birth. So, and men are generally, in the main, without training, stronger than women. I'm talking physical brute strength here.
Yeah.
Well, anybody comes for me. But within reason, everybody can do all of those things. But if we're not encouraging it in the home place and reinforcing it in the home, then the people that are getting this bias don't even know what they're looking out for, because they would have gone. They would have gone before they realized that, well, actually, I wanted to do that. How come I've ended up here?
Yeah.
One of my young nieces actually pointed that out, to do with, obviously, she's Nigerian like us, and she said that one of the shortcomings of our upbringing means that while it's good to bring children up to be respectful, to be this, to be that, to be polite, that sometimes with some that it does quieten their voice, so that when they're outside and they do see an injustice happening, they wouldn't necessarily speak up, especially if that injustice is coming from, list any institution that you want. They're not likely to, and it's not because they don't want to or because they don't see it, but it's because they feel that their voice has been dampened or removed.
So how do we give especially young people, how do we give them that voice?
I think it's one voice at a time, isn't it? Obviously.
Oh, I like that. One voice at a time.
Well, it is though, isn't it? If you think about it, I mean, I'm sure Justin will not mind me quoting her, like she said. She says it all the time, isn't it? 1 minute she was doing something somewhere else, the next minute here she's doing A, B, and C, and so her voice is spreading. So really, I suppose it's for us to encourage other people to join or to form their own, or maybe we should get D to franchise. But it's that type of thing, because it is happening. And you are right about the younger people, because they do walk with their feet. They do have a little bit of what's the word? I don't really want to use the word entitlement, because that just brings up a lot of negative connotations, but that's the only word I can think of at the moment. So yeah, English is failing me, despite the fact that I'm a grade 8 English student. What can I say?
It's a big topic, isn't it?
It is a massive topic, and I do think it is one voice at a time. And for me personally, I just think that if we've got females and even boys to a degree, because sometimes boys don't want to necessarily go down the woodwork and the mechanic or the doctor route. They might want to do something that is traditionally female, and it's just encouraging people that in the end they can do those things.
And I suppose that's what it is, really, isn't it? It's about encouraging. It's about letting everybody know that they are able to do anything that they want to do, regardless of whether you're male or female, whether you're able-bodied or not. Those opportunities are out there, and that they can have those opportunities, and they need to strive for that.
Absolutely.
It's one of the reasons why we have International Women's Day as a springboard for other ideas that are constantly going on. If you look at, I was going to do a quick screen share if I can. You've got International Women's Day. The website itself. Who's going to let me do this or not? That's actually then got all the different things to how you can actually get involved, how in your area, in your part of the world. Simply D's events, our event is actually on their website. It has got all the different things about what each theme is to do with. Website gets updated every year. and it's actually got the hints and tips and then the charity partners that are available in your country. So there's always stuff that's then on there, and the hints and tips of how to get involved as well. And there's loads of resources on there as well. So if you're wanting to do your own video today, if you're thinking about what people have been talking about or want to do your own video, there's different things like selfie cards. If you've got something in particular that you want to do, you've actually got a thing that you can print off or have it as your background or anything on a video. To actually then, if you want to do something personally, you can then get it out on there. But anything with the break the bias and the other hashtag of the International Women's Day or IWD 2022 will actually be on there all the time, and it doesn't necessarily mean just for today. This is always one of those days that's just springboarding you on to carrying on with the next thing. Obviously, you've got Rita pop in on here now.
I know, I was just going to say, so before we do kind of a wrap up, was there something you wanted to say, Rita?
Yeah, you're talking about being raised and all things like in the home. I don't know if I've told you this before, but there's one young lad that works with Nicole. He lives in Luton. He's been brought up like a Christian family. His mum's very strict, but he's too scared to tell his mum that he's gay.
Oh.
He's absolutely petrified. Nicole does really encourage him. He gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning to travel all the way to Milton Keynes, Bletchley, to get another taxi to where they work. But Nicole has always said, if ever you wake up late to come to her at my house, then she will bring him. But she said it's just so sad because you can tell that he is gay because they have that image and the way they talk and things like this. He's a lovely young man, but he's petrified to tell his mum. So when he goes back home, he just he's so unhappy that he can't be himself. So going to work is like he's released that he can be himself.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows at work.
Yeah.
And I've when Nicole told me, because there's some of my relatives are gay and lesbian and things like that, but we would never discriminate that. And it's just so sad that these days that some religions get in the way of these people trying to be themselves. I do find that quite sad.
And I suppose that's the point, though, isn't it? I mean, obviously, it is International Women's Day, but actually, the gender bias is for everybody. It's not necessarily just looking at gender bias just for women only, because actually, men also have a bias around who they are, who they're expected to be, what they're expected to be, what role they're expected to play. So that gender bias does work. It works both ways. Definitely does work both ways. It isn't just, we're not looking just at women, but I
read a really good article on LinkedIn yesterday. That's what I was just looking for to share. And was this lady, she was born in India, and it wasn't quite a poem that she wrote, although it was kind of read like a poem, but basically her family were flipped everything around because they only had girls in their family. She was the middle girl, and they spent 60% of their household income on education. But what they used to get was all of this from the neighbors, from the family. Why would you do this? Why would you do that? And she got it through every stage of her life. She got it through education. And then for some reason, she didn't say how she met her husband, who happened to be Australian. So obviously she married him. And then the comment she was getting was like, oh, well, I thought it was only Middle East. They didn't buy male brides from India. You know, she used to get all the stuff like that. But in the meantime, she, I think she started off in the techie field, which she did really well. And then she moved from the techie field to the investment banking. And then obviously she had all the biases that went with moving from India to Australia. But she persevered and she overcame. And that's what she was saying, that it was one bias at a time, but she just never gave up. And that was a blessing, because what the parents used to get, well, how are you going to live? What's going to happen when you're old? You've got no sons to look after you.
And that's a bias that still continues, doesn't it? You know, we kind of started around education, and it kind of it's there because in some countries that where education is, you know, quite expensive compared with what they're earning, that money then goes for their son's education as opposed to the daughter's education.
Yeah.
Because that viewpoint is still that, well, the daughter's going to get married and have children, whereas the son needs to go and have a career. And that's still there. It's still there in some countries.
Yeah. But we as migrants, we bring those things with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do bring those things with us. And obviously my little cousin that I mentioned about, when I said, well, she's not some distant cousin. She's my first cousin's daughter that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I was the first one to carry her when she was born, by the way. Just thought I'd get that out there. And and we've come, you know, from somewhere, and we've brought our traditions and our behaviors with us. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that all our traditions or behaviors are bad, because obviously lots of us are very happy to be doctors, to be engineers, to be pharmacists, to be etc., etc., etc. But it's that thing again, when you want to do something off the mark. It's taken, I'll probably say, third generation now before that those boundaries are beginning to come down. So it does come down eventually. It is just, like we said, one voice at a time.
I'm sure we'll get there in the end.
Amen to
I don't
that.
know if it's my lifetime, but
how do we have hope for the ones coming behind us? That's the thing.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
and that's what we need to do, is give them that encouragement.
Yeah.
We need to empower them so that they can call those things out. If they see something, they can call it out, or, you know, have a different mindset for themselves. So, yeah. So tonight we have got the Real Talk International Women's Day special show tonight. And you can find it on Facebook and YouTube, 7 o'clock. And it's going to be a little snippet of the inspirational women that are going to be speaking at the International Women's event that we've got on Saturday. You need to come. You need to come. There's going to be some fabulous speakers there, absolutely fabulous speakers there. And there's going to be exhibitors there as well. So that's Saturday from 12 till 5. It's only £5. That's all it is. And I might just say that there's a couple of hosts that you'll quite enjoy. One being myself and one being my daughter, Remy. We're going to be hosting Saturday, but it is going to be phenomenal. It really is not one, you don't want to miss this one. You really don't want to miss this one. But there is going to be snippets of it tonight.
Yeah, can I just say it's £5 plus the fee,
booking fee,
pre-ordering on that link. It's all on our Facebook page. The event has been going around for quite a while. That will not be the price on the door. So it's £5 plus the booking fee, which I think works out as £6 something. There's odd pennies, because Eventbrite and everyone else takes all that door. But it's not £5 on the door. We're wanting to pre-book all these tickets to make sure that we've got a big number then come in, and especially because it's our first one since COVID as well. So yeah.
So remember that. Pre-book. Go on the link, get your ticket, £5 plus booking fee, which is the same for everything that you're booking online now. Everything you book online is a cost plus the booking fee. But we prefer people to book, get their tickets pre-ordered. But it is going to be a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal face-to-face. The first time in, so we didn't have face-to-face last year, so in 2 years.
The last event we did was International Women's Day 2 years ago.
Wow.
Because the 2 weeks after we first started hearing that there was problems, way away. Didn't think it would have anything to do with us, but then it did come, and then we were in lockdown the 2 weeks after.
So face to face,
back.
face to face, absolutely fantastic. Really, really, really looking forward to it. Like I said, there's going to be phenomenal speakers there. There's also going to be, you know, exhibitors there, lots of different things that you can look at and buy. And it's here for the community. You know, it's being held Futures House in Marsh Farm. It's a beautiful venue and it's for the community. So get your tickets and come and join us. But like I said, tonight, the Real Talk show has got a little bit of a teaser. You know, we've got quite a few of the speakers are going to be there tonight, just to kind of give you a little bit of what they're going to be doing. Just a little bit. Just enough to get you interested so that you then come on Saturday. So, anything else, ladies, before we go?
No, we're already running behind because we have so much to fit in as always. But love as always. Join us tonight. Join us on Saturday. It's going to be my first real life event talking as well on Saturday. And my first event talking online was International Women's Day last year. So I'm kind of glad that COVID made it happen because I won't be with you guys now. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that is what it's about. That's what it's about. So see you tonight and see you Saturday. Bye, everybody.
See you next week, Tuesday, 12 o'clock. Don't forget.